Among the stars and ruins, Captain Elena Rodriguez pressed her face against the viewport of her freight vessel. The wandering star, as it drifted through what remained of Coral Bay Station. The sight never got easier, no matter how many disaster zones she'd worked. Twisted metal floated like deadly flowers in the void, and the silence where thousands of voices once lived pressed against her heart like a weight. 3 days ago, Coral Bay had been a thriving research station, home to the peaceful Valtharian colony. The aquatic beings had chosen this remote location to study deep space coral formations, their bioluminescent bodies perfectly suited for the work. Now, fragments of their beautiful coral gardens drifted among the debris, their colors fading. In the cold of space, Alina adjusted her scanner settings, searching for any signs of life. The distress beacon had been broadcasting for hours before anyone heard it, and most rescue teams had already written off the station as a total loss. But Alina had learned something important during her 15 years hauling freight across the galaxy. Hope had a way of surviving in the most impossible places. Her scanner picked up a faint reading from what looked like the residential section. The area had taken massive damage, but environmental readings showed a pocket of atmosphere still intact. Elena maneuvered her small rescue pod through the debris field, her heart racing as she approached the breach in the station's hull. The emergency airlock still functioned, though barely. Alina pulled on her environmental suit and checked her equipment twice before stepping into the corridor beyond. Emergency lighting flickered weakly, casting strange shadows on the walls that had once been painted with beautiful Valtharian art, depicting their underwater cities. The gravity generators were offline, so Alina used her magnetic boots to walk along what had been the floor. Each step echoed strangely in the thin atmosphere. The silence felt heavy, broken only by the occasional groan of stressed metal and the soft hum of her life support systems. That's when she heard it, a sound so quiet she almost missed it completely. A soft whimpering, like a child crying. Alina stopped moving and listened carefully. There it was again, coming from somewhere ahead in the damaged corridor. "Hello," Alina called out, her voice carrying clearly through the thin air. "Is someone there?" "This is Captain Rodriguez with the rescue team." The crying stopped immediately. Alina waited, holding her breath. After a long moment, a small voice spoke from the darkness ahead. "Are you real?" the universal translator processed. The words, spoken in the musical language of the Valtharians. The voice belonged to a child, very young. "Yes, I'm real," Alina replied gently, moving slowly toward the sound. "I'm here to help. What's your name?" "Kira," came the whispered response. "I'm hiding like Mama told me to." Elena's throat tightened. She followed the voice to a section where the corridor opened into what had been a common area. Most of the furniture was destroyed, but she could see a small alcove where emergency supplies were stored. That's where she found her. The child was tiny, even for a Valtharian. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old by human standards. Her skin showed the characteristic pale blue coloring of her species, with intricate bioluminescent patterns that pulsed weakly with her heartbeat. These patterns, Alina knew, were unique to each individual, like fingerprints. Right now, they flickered with colors that meant fear and sadness. Kira wore the torn remains of what had been a beautiful dress, decorated with symbols that probably represented her family name. She clutched a small object to her chest, some kind of toy or comfort item. Her large dark eyes stared at Alina with a mixture of hope and terror. "Hello, Kira," Alina said softly, removing her helmet so the child could see her face. The atmosphere was thin but breathable for short periods. I'm Alina. I've come to take you somewhere safe. Kira's bioluminescent patterns shifted to show confusion, but Mama said to wait here. She said someone from our pod would come back for me. Elena's heart broke a little more. She knelt down slowly, making herself less intimidating. Kira, sweetheart, how long have you been waiting here? Since the loud sounds stopped, Kira replied, her patterns now showing deep blue sadness. The walls shook and everything fell down. Mama pushed me in here and told me to be very quiet and wait, but nobody came back. Alina ran a quick scan with her medical equipment. The child was dehydrated and hungry, but alive. It was a miracle she had survived this long. The emergency supplies in the alcove had probably kept her alive, though they were nearly depleted now. Kira, I need to tell you something important, Alina said gently. The station was badly damaged. Many people were hurt, and some didn't make it. The child's patterns flickered rapidly, processing this information. Leviathans were empathic, Alina remembered. They could sense emotions in others, which meant Kira probably already knew the truth on some level. Mama's not coming back, is she? Kira whispered. Alina felt tears sting her eyes. I don't think so, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. Kira was quiet for a long moment, her patterns cycling through different colors. Finally, she looked up at Alina with those huge, trusting eyes. Can I ask you something? She said in a voice so small. Alina had to lean closer to hear it. Of course, honey, you can ask me anything. Could you be my family now? Kira asked. I don't want to be alone anymore. The question hit Alina like a physical blow. She thought of her own life, a freight captain with no permanent home, traveling from system to system with only her ship. For company, she thought of all the reasons why taking care of an alien child would be complicated, even impossible. Then she looked at Kira's face, at the hope flickering in her bioluminescent patterns, and knew there was only one answer she could give. Yes, Alina said simply. If you want me to, I'll be your family. Kira's patterns suddenly burst into brilliant gold and warm orange colors. Alina didn't need a translator to understand. They meant joy and relief and love. The child launched herself into Elena's arms, and Elena held her tight, feeling something she hadn't felt in years, the fierce protectiveness that came with having someone to take care of. We need to get you somewhere with better air and food, Alina said, replacing her helmet. My ship isn't fancy, but it's safe and warm. Would you like to see it? Kira nodded eagerly, still clutching her small toy. Alina scooped her up carefully. Surprised by how light she was, Leviathans had evolved in water, so their bone structure was different from humans. As they made their way back to the airlock, Kira spoke quietly. Alina, that's your name, right? That's right. In my language, we have a word for someone who finds you when you're lost and brings you home. We call them tidebringers because they bring the tide that carries you to safety. Alina felt her eyes watering again. What does that mean? It means you're my tidebringer, Kira said, her patterns now showing steady, warm colors. And in our culture, tidebringers become family forever. Alina looked out at the stars visible through the station's broken hull. She'd spent so many years moving from place to place, never staying anywhere long enough to call it home. She'd told herself she preferred it that way. No attachments, no complications, no one to worry about except herself. But holding this small, brave child who had lost everything and still had the courage to ask for love, Alina realized she'd been wrong. She hadn't been avoiding complications. She'd been avoiding life itself. Asterisk. Forever sounds perfect to me, Alina whispered as they reached her ship. Asterisk, the Tidebringers promised the wandering. Star had never felt more like home than it did with Kira aboard. Alina had converted her small storage compartment into a bedroom. For the child, installing a humidity regulator to help Kira's skin stay healthy. The Veltharian girl had been amazed by everything. The stars, visible through the observation deck. The way artificial gravity worked. Even the simple act of eating human food. "This is incredible," Kira said, her bioluminescent patterns bright. With excitement as she explored the ship's bridge. She moved with the natural grace of her aquatic species, seeming to flow rather than walk. "You travel to different worlds all the time." "Every few weeks," Alina confirmed, watching Kira examine the navigation console with fascination. "I carry supplies and equipment to colonies and stations all across this sector. It's not glamorous work, but it lets me see the galaxy, and now I get to see it too." Kira's patterns shifted to hopeful yellow-green. "Now we get to see it together." Alina confirmed it had been 3 days since the rescue, and Alina was learning just how remarkable her new daughter was. Kira had an incredible memory and seemed to absorb information like a sponge. She'd already learned basic ship operations and could navigate the corridors in artificial gravity better than some adult humans Alina knew. But Alina also saw the moments when grief caught up with the child. Sometimes Kira would grow quiet, her patterns dimming to deep blue, and Alina would find her holding the small toy she'd been clutching when they first met. It was carved from some kind of coral-like material and shaped like a sea creature Alina didn't recognize. "That's beautiful," Alina said one evening as they sat together in the observation lounge, watching stars stream past. "What is it?" "It's a memory keeper," Kira explained, running her small fingers over the carved surface. "My father made it for me. He said that as long as I had it, I'd always remember my first family, even when I found my new one." Elena's throat tightened. "He sounds like he was very wise." "He was a coral sculptor," Kira said proudly. "He could make the most beautiful things. Mama was a deep space navigator, like you. She taught me about stars and how to read the patterns between systems." Alina smiled. "No wonder you're so good with the ship's navigation. It's in your blood." Kira's patterns shifted to curious purple. "Alina, can I ask you something? Always. Do you think my first parents would be happy that you found me?" Alina considered the question carefully. "I think any parent would be grateful to know their child was safe and loved. And from what you've told me about them, they sound like they were wonderful people who loved you very much." "They did," Kira agreed. "And I love them, but I love you too. Is that okay?" Alina felt her eyes well up. "Kira, sweetheart, of course that's okay. Love isn't like space on a ship. It doesn't run out when you give it to more people. The more love you have, the bigger your heart grows." Kira's patterns exploded into brilliant gold again, and she curled up next to Alina on the observation couch. Alina wrapped her arms around the child, marveling at how natural it felt. Their peaceful moment was interrupted by an incoming transmission. Alert, Alina frowned. They weren't expecting any communications while in hyperspace. She activated the comm system, and the stern face of Admiral Harrison from Sector Command appeared on the screen. "Captain Rodriguez," the Admiral said without preamble, "we need to discuss the Veltharian child you've taken aboard your vessel." Alina felt Kira tense beside her. "What about her, Admiral?" "Our records show you filed no official adoption papers." And the child has no legal guardian status in human space, Harrison continued. The Veltharian Council has been contacted, but they're dealing with the aftermath of the attack on Coral Bay until proper arrangements can be made. The child needs to be placed in a certified care facility, a facility. Elena's voice went cold. She's not cargo, Admiral. She's a child who's already lost everything. She doesn't need a facility, she needs a family. Captain Rodriguez, I understand your intentions are good, but there are protocols. Interspecies adoption requires extensive background checks, psychological evaluations, and approval from both governments involved. Alina looked down at Kira, whose patterns had shifted to the deep blues and greys of fear and sadness. The child was trying to be brave, but Alina could feel her trembling. How long would this process take? Alina asked. Months, possibly years, the Admiral replied. The bureaucracy involved is extensive, and there are very few precedents for human Veltharian adoption. Years. Elena's voice rose. You want to put a traumatized child in an institutional facility for years while bureaucrats shuffle papers. Captain, I understand your frustration, but no, you don't understand, Alina interrupted, her voice steady but fierce. You don't understand what it's like to find a child who's lost everything, asking if you can be her family. You don't understand what it means to look into someone's eyes and promise them they'll never be alone again. Kira looked up at Alina, her patterns shifting to surprised orange and yellow. Alina had never heard her new mother speak with such determination. Admiral Alina continued, I've been carrying freight across this galaxy for 15 years. I've never missed a delivery, never failed to complete a mission, and never broken my word. I'm not about to start now. Captain Rodriguez, if you don't comply with the placement order, you could lose your license and face charges for kidnapping. Alina was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she smiled, not a pleasant smile, but the kind of smile that had earned humans their reputation for being unpredictably stubborn. Admiral, are you familiar with Article 7 of the Galactic Rescue Protocols? Harrison frowned. Which article? Article 7 states that any rescue operator who saves a life in deep space has the right to serve as temporary guardian until proper arrangements can be made with the survivor's people, Alina said calmly. It also states that if the survivor formally requests the rescue operator as their permanent guardian, that request supersedes standard adoption procedures. The Admiral's frown deepened. Captain, that article applies to emergency situations. This is an emergency situation, Alina said firmly. Kira is the sole survivor of her colony. Her people are scattered and dealing with their own crisis, and she has formally requested me as her guardian. Kira straightened up beside Alina, her patterns brightening. I do request it, she said clearly. Alina is my tidebringer. In Veltharian law, that makes her my family. Alina looked down at her with surprise. Kira, you don't have to. Yes, I do, Kira said, her young voice filled with determination. That reminded Alina powerfully of human stubbornness. You promised we'd be family forever. I'm holding you to that promise. Admiral Harrison sighed. Captain Rodriguez, even if Article 7 applies, you'll still need to undergo evaluation processes. The child's welfare must be ensured. Then send your evaluators, Alina said. But they'll evaluate us as a family, in our home, not in some sterile facility. After a long pause, the Admiral nodded reluctantly. Very well, you have 6 months to complete the necessary procedures. But Captain, if there are any problems, any sign that the child's welfare is at risk, there won't be, Alina said simply. After the transmission ended, Kira looked up at Alina with wonder. You really meant it, didn't you, about forever? Alina hugged her tighter. Kira, let me tell you something about humans. We're stubborn, we're protective of our families, and when we make a promise, we keep it, no matter what. Kira's patterns cycled through every color Alina had learned to recognize: joy, love, gratitude, and something new: security. The kind of security that came from knowing you belonged somewhere. Thank you for being my tidebringer, Kira whispered. Alina looked out at the stars streaming past and realized something profound had changed in her life. She was no longer a solitary freight captain wandering the galaxy. She was part of something bigger, a family that had been forged not by blood or species, but by choice and love and the simple human refusal to leave someone behind. Thank you for asking me to be, Alina replied, as the wandering star continued its journey through hyperspace, carrying its precious cargo of hope and love toward tomorrow. Alina Rodriguez understood why humans had earned their reputation among the stars. They didn't just survive in the vast, cold galaxy. They found the lost, protected the innocent, and turned strangers into family. And sometimes, when a small voice asked for love, they gave it without question, because that's what family did. Asterisk.